Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're combining ancient philosophy, hard neuroscience, and modern therapy to build your absolute ultimate mind mastery toolkit. Seriously, we are going to completely reframe how you handle stress and those pesky intrusive thoughts. Okay, let's just run through today's roadmap really quick. We're looking at 1. The overthinking trap, 2. The power of walking away, 3. The neuroscience of meditation, 4. A practical mindfulness toolkit, and finally, 5. One step at a time. Section 1. The overthinking trap, caught in the mental hamster wheel. We are kicking things off with a totally universal problem that just drains our energy and completely sabotages our sleep. It's that awful feeling of running as fast as you can, but getting absolutely nowhere. Ever felt the weight of a moment pressing on you at 2 a.m.? I mean, really think about that for a second. When the world gets quiet, our minds kind of betray us, right? When there are no office calls and no daytime hustle to distract you, your brain decides it's the perfect time to host a full-on debate. Suddenly, an awkward handshake from 2014 or, an imaginary argument with a shampoo bottle feels like the most urgent crisis in the world. Our daytime fatigue actually wears down our mental filters, and elevated cortisol levels turn our minds into this chaotic stage where every past conversation is suddenly up for intense scrutiny. And notice how this overthinking literally attacks our well-being. Mentally, we catastrophize, we mind read, and we create these elaborate, super unlikely scenarios. Physically, our bodies respond with tension headaches, stomach knots, and of course, difficulty falling asleep. And behaviorally, it completely alters how we operate, forcing us to procrastinate on important decisions or void trigger situations entirely, just to escape the discomfort. Now, there is a critical difference between the two concepts here. Problem solving is goal-oriented. It actually pushes you forward. But if you haven't moved toward a resolution after 15 to 20 minutes, actually scratch that. If you're just spinning your wheels, you aren't problem solving anymore. You're trapped in an overthinking cycle. It becomes repetitive, catastrophizing, and focuses entirely on the problem itself, usually projecting scenarios that will never, ever happen. Section 2. The power of walking away, a philosophical reframe. Let's zoom out to the macro level and see how ancient Stoic philosophy completely reframes our approach to these internal conflicts. So how do we actually stop the cycle? By learning how to walk away. The Stoics knew exactly what was up. They understood that walking away is a strategic withdrawal, a deliberate choice to allocate our resources wisely. Stepping back from the mental hamster wheel isn't an act of defeat. No way. It's a demonstration of absolute strength and self-mastery. True power lies in applying reason to our actions. Not every battle, especially the internal ones, is worth fighting. By using the compass of discernment, we can preserve our eudaimonia, which is basically a flourishing life, and set firm boundaries for our own mental space. A flourishing life requires us to evaluate the long-term impact of where we place our energy, consciously choosing to avoid conflicts that just wreck our inner peace. This right here is honestly the ultimate Stoic flex. Detaching your sense of self from external validations and quietly mastering your own internal harmony. You are recognizing your own self-worth and confirming that you and only you are entirely in control of how you react to the world around you. Section 3. The neuroscience of meditation, rewiring the brain. Okay, let's move over to the biological proof and see how this ancient wisdom physically changes the architecture of your brain. Because it's not just a mindset shift, it is a structural one. Cultivating basic human qualities like stable attention and emotional balance requires actively training the mind to be serene. The clarity of a meditator seamlessly blending with the natural flow of focus, that doesn't happen by accident. It's an intentional practice of remaining open to an experience without getting totally swept away by it. We're talking about neuroplasticity here. Just like a violinist's brain physically adapts to playing an instrument, your brain literally builds you tissue when you practice mindfulness and focused attention. The old idea that the adult brain is just static is completely outdated. Through neuroplasticity, your everyday experiences directly dictate how your brain wires itself. Check out the illuminated areas on this brain scan. That is your default mode network, or DMN. Think of it as your brain's rumination station. This wide-ranging network builds and updates internal models based on memories and self-reflection. When your mind wanders into a dark rumination loop, or when you're caught in an overthinking trap, this network is just firing on all cylinders. But on the flip side, when we actively detach from a distraction and refocus our attention, like taking a strategic Stoic retreat, this specific blue region takes control. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex helps us retain a high level of activity focused exactly where we want it to be. It essentially takes our attention back from the distraction so we can easily just walk away from the intrusive thought. 10,000. This is the staggering number of hours expert Buddhist monks have practiced, enabling them to completely regulate these brain networks with minimal effort. To put that in perspective, brain scans show that these advanced practitioners actually demonstrate less overall activation than novices when focusing. They've built such an incredibly efficient neural pathway that they can slip into a serene, highly focused state almost effortlessly. Section 4. Practical Mindfulness Toolkit. Therapist-approved tactics. So, we've seen the philosophy, we've seen the neuroscience. Now let's zoom all the way down to everyday, tactical habits you can use right now to start building those efficient neural pathways yourself. When you feel that negative spiral starting, immediately hit it with the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. Name 5 things you can see around you, 4 things you can physically touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. By deliberately engaging your sensory awareness step by step like this, you literally pull resources away from that default mode network we just looked at and force your brain to process the immediate physical world. It is a real game changer. Let's see how this builds into an absolutely airtight evening routine. For those brutal 2 a.m. spirals, try setting a 15-minute worry window earlier in the evening, or doing a brain dump into a notebook right before bed. It acts as a mental appointment, tricking your mind into letting go of its concerns. Then you pair that with 4-7-8 breathing, inhaling for 4, holding for 7, and exhaling for 8. This directly activates your parasympathetic nervous system, basically telling your body physically that it's time to rest. Now, for the long term, to make lasting changes to your neural pathways, implement these deeper clinical strategies to systematically challenge and park your unhelpful assumptions. Ask yourself, are my thoughts actually based on hard facts? Give yourself strict decision deadlines so you don't endlessly deliberate. Remember that defeating perfectionism often means embracing what's just good enough. And use a mental parking lot. Literally write down intrusive thoughts to address later, observing them pass by like clouds without immediately judging them. Section 5. 1 step at a time. Your journey forward. As we wrap up this explainer, it is vital to remember that rewiring years and years of mental habits requires immense self-compassion. You are literally reshaping the physical structures of your brain. And that takes time. Your personal history and your own mental health journey is truly made one small, deliberate step at a time. Every single time you use discernment and decide to walk away from a draining thought, you are moving forward. And listen, you don't have to be perfect. Even if your mind wanders, gently bringing it back to the practice is a massive victory for your brain's neuroplasticity. Consistency matters way more than perfection. We are trying to cultivate a non-reactive form of awareness here, completely transforming how you relate to stress. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. Will you continue running on that mental hamster wheel? Or will you use your power to walk away and build a flourishing mind today? Every day is an opportunity to train your brain. Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and remember, the power to walk away from the chaos is exactly where your greatest strength begins. Catch you next time.